Well, hello, Up With People World. I am Donna Reed. I traveled in 1976, and I have two guests today who clearly, if you're watching this, you can see they're sitting side by side in the same place, which is cool. I don't think we've had that happen yet, you guys. So why don't you take a minute and Randall, do you go by Randall or Randy? Or do you
either one is fine. It drives people crazy when I say that, but truly it doesn't matter.
Okay. So why don't you introduce yourself and tell everybody when you traveled, and then Darrick will ask you.
Yeah, sure. Hey, everybody in the world out there. Randall Anderson, Randy, if you rather, traveling with this guy and a few others and up with in A91.
Okay.
Yeah, originally from Wyoming, but we'll get into the rest of it here in a bit, I suppose.
Awesome. All right. Okay. And Darrick, tell us about you.
Yeah, I'm Darrick Christopher, originally from Western New York State, traveled in A91. And yeah, I have a whole lot of colorful things I call Randy, actually. So
Gotta love good. I did one of these with for the guys from the Arizona band. And I had to tell them, they know each other so well that it's like a dinner table. They're talking over each other and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, you guys, please wait till I call on you. Tell us more. Okay, so Randall, you just said that you were originally from Wyoming. So did you see a show in Wyoming, or how did you learn about Up With People?
We had hosted growing up and was always interested in that. My mom was a music person and we grew up with music. Was always intrigued by the show. I thought I was awestruck by the people who stayed with us. And it was always in my, at the time, life plan to go to college a couple of years, then go do that, and then go do the rest of my life. And that's what happened. But the closest show to me was in Rapid City, South Dakota. So I went there in a snowstorm, and it was, I don't know, it was somewhere just after the wall had fallen. So they had added that stuff to the show, and it was moving. And I did an interview and drove back and almost hit deer, but I survived and
because it's Wyoming.
Had probably the best year of my life. Yeah, best year of my life. So
that's awesome. We had our Christmas party in Casper, Wyoming. That's where we were in. So we had Christmas party, and then we ended in like Scottsbluff or Nebraska or something. And right. Wyoming was where our bus broke down in the winter, and we had to put everybody on one bus and all those things that like so are illegal nowadays, right? You'd be like, oh, we have 100 people jammed together on this bus to get to the next destination.
If people know me, they know I'm a huge Wyoming cowboy fan. I always talk about the northern part is much more beautiful than the windy central to south, like Casper and down. But I'm a huge Wyoming cowboy fan, very proud of being from there. So
that's awesome. And Darrick, you said you're from upstate New York originally. Is that what you said?
That's right. Yeah, Western New York State. Went to school there. I got through my junior year of college. Decided to interview at that point. Had to find a show. There was nothing near me, so I ended up going to Toronto, Canada to interview, and got accepted, and then the rest is history.
Wow, that's fascinating. So Western New York, like Rochester, like where? I mean,
yeah, okay. Right between Rochester and Buffalo.
Okay, got it. You guys would get all the snow off the lake. I was south of Lake Erie in Ohio, and it would always blow more your way. You guys got way more of that crappy weather than we did.
Yeah, we lived right on near the lake, and so we got a ton of that lake effect. So it was, but we hosted a ton too in a little town called Albion, New York, and spent a lot of time hosting there, and that's how I got interested.
So did you end up taking that break between your junior and senior year of college?
No, I interviewed my junior year and ended up traveling after my senior year. So I graduated and then traveled. Yeah, and then I stayed on as a staff member a couple of years after that.
So what'd you do on staff?
I was a PR rep. They called them PR reps then. Yeah. I did marketing. I did ACM and cast manager for a couple of years.
What is ACM? Oh, assistant
cast manager. Yep.
There's so many acronyms in everybody's jobs or whatever. Whatever. Okay, so this morning you guys are in Maine. What are you in a town? Or are you like in the country? Where are you?
We're in the thriving metropolis of Litchfield, Maine, which is equidistant among Augusta, the capital, Lewiston, Auburn area, and then Brunswick, Topsom area. So right in between all of those is where we're at. Town of 2,500 people.
And we're at the Meadows Golf Club in Litchfield.
The Meadows Golf Club, which is going to lead us to our story. I think I told you, Randall, that Maine is one of the few states I haven't been to. I've been,
It's a travesty. You need to come.
I know. When my brother was like in scouts and stuff, he was at the Acacia at the state park up there, and everybody says it's beautiful. It's a destination. You don't just pass through it like Kansas, right? Kansas, a lot of people drive through, and so you can stop. But Maine, you got to decide, I'm going, and I need to get there. I hear the lobster's the best. So
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So your friend Mary McCullough is the one that suggested that I talk to you guys. And why don't choose one of you, start telling me a little bit about how you became friends. Darrick, you want to go?
Well, we became friends in our cast year, all 6 of us. And we just got to know each other, obviously, through the year like you would. And towards the end of the year, we didn't want it all to end. And so we just kind of threw out the idea that we should get together and play a little golf after the year was over. And 3 of us did. 3 of us got together. We played golf at my house, actually. We stayed at my house in Albion. And then we said, hey, that was a good time. We should do it again. And we had a couple other guys that joined us. And I think, was that the year we had 6 or we had 5, I think, the second year. And then we had all 6 of us together in the 3rd year. And we just kept doing it. And
like once a summer or something like that?
Once a year.
Okay.
Once a year. And we ended up with all these crazy rules and crazy traditions and weird things that we did. But we found that it worked best that whoever won the tournament the year before hosted it the next year. So that was kind of the benefit of winning, is that you got to host it and you didn't have to travel anywhere. And we were scattered all over the country. We had guys that were going to medical school. I was still on the road with people traveling, but every year we managed to get together and play that golf tournament, and have done so since then for 32 years now.
Yeah. So despite colleges, movings, weddings, babies, and unfortunately an occasional death and everything, we've not missed one year, with the exception of one year for Corona. That was the only year we didn't get together.
That gives me chills. That's fascinating to think about. So were you guys close enough that you were like at each other's weddings and stuff then too?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, because this golf tournament happened pre anybody's current spouse, and so this was a condition of marriage.
Like this comes with the marriage.
You had to know that this was going to be a yearly thing. And
you're marrying the Peak Boys. We call ourselves the Peak International, and so they all have to pass our tests and make sure they're buying into not just the one they're marrying, but all of us.
So there was one spouse that didn't totally buy into that, and that just didn't last very long.
She's out. She had to go.
Yeah.
Laugh, but my youngest son is getting married this year, and she wasn't in up with people, but they're in Denver. I call it the retirement community for the younger generation, and they do play D&D together, and they hang out together. And she's, like many spouses, has had to meet 1 or 2 at a time and get to know them. And then they'll be together. And every once in a while, my son will say, so I don't know if you know this, but we all travel together in this group. And she's like, no. Yep, heard that story. I totally get it. So so you hosted the first year, Darrick, and then Randall, were you still back in Wyoming, and like, have you played in all your hometowns there?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. So I traveled up with people between my sophomore and junior year of college. So I went back to Wyoming to finish school, and then I eventually moved to Omaha, and that's where I started to play from. But we've played all over. We had, when we were early days, we came up with all sorts of crazy traditions. We played for an absolutely hideous but beautiful jacket for the winner. We have a trophy that speaks for itself if you ever see it. And then we also play East-West things. We've added stuff over the years, but we have certain traditions. We have a card game we made up. We play. The only time we ever play is when we get together every year. We used to drink a lot of beer. Now we're old and we don't drink very much at all. It's we go to bed early.
I did see the picture in kilts.
We used to play every year in kilts, but we had a couple defectors in our 6 that didn't like them as much. So we at one point had to put in an 80 degree rule. If it was going to be 80 or higher, we didn't have to wear all that wool. and eventually it just died. And so
So
those of us-
did you have the traditional kilts, the whole shebang that you wrap and do
Oh,
all
yeah.
that?
These
It
are-
wasn't
these-
like, okay.
no, these are legit,
We went
full
authentic.
on everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're great. But
And they're incredibly comfortable as long as it's cool outside.
if it's cold, they're
Right.
awesome.
Right.
But we've literally played everywhere.
There's argument as to what is actually worn under the kilt.
I
as
know.
well.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
there's
yeah.
a debate about that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's no debate
yeah.
how it should be done. But
Right.
anyway.
Was one of you Scottish? Is that how that or
So
how did,
Michael Schooling, who's one of the 6 of us, hits his family's tartan that we all adopted and got. So we all have matching
Oh.
kilts from him.
fun.
Yeah.
So I was in Scotland for the first time. Have you guys ever gone there? St. Andrews, done any of that?
Yeah.
Have you-
So what I was going to say, when we were young, we all agreed that, well, maybe on the big anniversaries, if we ever make it to 10 years or 15 or 20 years, we should do something kind of cool, like go to Pebble Beach for the 15th. And maybe we'll go to Scotland if we're ever old and if we ever make it there to 20th anniversary. So sure as heck, 25, we said. Yeah, that's right, 25. So we actually did go and play Pebble Beach in our kilts, interestingly enough, for our 15 year, I think.
Yeah.
And we,
I want to ask what you wore underneath, but maybe I should.
yeah, exactly. So 10 was Vegas. We did that. 15, we did Pebble Beach. 20, I think we let Wave.
Right.
And then 25th year, we went to Scotland. So we played awesome course, all of them, the old course, the new course, Kingsbarn, Carnoustie, all that. But then otherwise, we played Denver a few times because once upon a time, there were at least 2 people always living in Denver, it felt like. So they would Ottawa, we were going there. We've played in Canada a couple times. We've played.
Have you come to Arizona for any of the reunions and played in Tucson or Phoenix? We have great.
We
golf
haven't
courses.
played the peak tournament for that. A couple
That
of us
is
have
a
gone and
travesty.
just gone and played golf, but we haven't played the tournament there. Mary is lobbying, and others have lobbied for that to happen. So
Yeah. So when you were on the road, did you all then already play golf, or was there somebody that you kind of brought in that's like, sure, I'll learn to play golf?
No, we don't. Yeah, we're not very good.
The reality is we're pretty crappy golf players.
Yeah.
So you guys back in 70 something.
We
We
played then.
We all played, but we didn't play very- and we still aren't very good.
We still are pretty
You
bad.
would think after 30 some years we'd be better. We're not any better.
No, we're horrible.
Yeah.
My cousin was almost a professional golfer. He was kind of from the Youngstown area of Ohio. And when Chichi Rodriguez and those guys were playing, I went with him. There was whatever, I don't even know what the top things are called, but went to the grand, big things. It was in Toledo. And I went with him, and then he and I had golfed once. I played putt-putt, and it took me like 12 shots on the first hole. And he goes, "This is not your game."
That's awesome.
We've heard that before. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, you would be right. So okay, first I want to go back real quick. Mary mentioned, did you sing on a mic group together, or were you just kind of randomly friends in the cast?
So of the 6 of us, we were all active on the front part. I don't think there were any stage potatoes in our group.
No.
So Berkeley was one of the fancy show guys. He could sing and dance and everything. He's kind of the cool one. Same with Dan Prusel, though. He was on mic groups and everything. So those are the 2 most talented,
Really
I would
good,
say.
really talented guys.
Greg, Darrick, and I were in the mic groups. Darrick was the best Crocodile Rock guy ever.
Oh,
Only 'cause I fit in the
so
costume, that's
Crocodile
the
Rock
only
was one of your retro songs, huh? Okay.
Yeah, we had the 70s medley.
Yeah.
I was John Denver, a pretty tall John Denver, but that's all right. So anyway, so yes, we were all either on the mic groups or singing and dancing. But mic groups was our middle thing. We were all together on.
Right.
That's on. We in our show, for us it was 30s, 40s, and 50s because I traveled in 76. So you always, when my son traveled in 2013 and I found out that retro was like the 90s. 80s and 90s. I'm like, oh, so they were doing Prince and stuff. It's just it's funny how that there was always that section in the show, but the memories are great to think about, and what you do on stage, right, to entertain yourselves when just to get through however many shows you're doing in a year. Okay, so when did it evolve into we're gonna buy a golf course?
That's all his fault.
It is really my fault. Yeah.
Okay.
So the course that we're at now, that we now own, we had played a few times in our peak tournament.
Yeah.
And Darrick, so there's of the 6 of us, 2 of us are more business guys, 2 are in the media and TV business. Greg is with ESPN and Berkeley's with NBC, and then 2 of them are doctors. So Darrick and I were in a point where we were kind of done with what our former business careers were, and this local course came up for sale, and I live 4 minutes from here, and we'd all played here. So I called Darrick and said, "Hey, I have a crazy idea."
That's exactly what he said.
I said, "I know we both are ready to get out of our current worlds. What do you think if we do a business plan and do a proposal and maybe buy the course that's around the corner from me?" And he didn't say hell no. So that was a good sign.
Was there a long pause? Was there a long pause, Darrick? Like,
that was my first mistake, is not to say hell no.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, he came out. We met with the 2 brothers that own the place. We put together a little business plan.
They really liked us for some reason.
I don't know why the brothers liked us, but and we went to the rest of the Peak guys and said, "Hey, we have a crazy idea," and it said, "We want to buy the course nearby, and we want you to help invest in it." And we said, "If you invest, we promise you'll never get any money in return."
Right.
So
there you go.
Because we wanted to set
pinky swear, right?
we wanted to set really low expectations. So,
but you can always play golf for free.
But you got a lifetime membership
for your $50,000 or whatever.
Exactly right.
Exactly.
And they didn't say hell no. So the rest kind of worked out.
Yeah.
That is
now Randall and I run it, and they are silent partners, and they come out periodically, and they just enjoy hearing the stories at this point. So.
Yeah.
That is so cool. So does Peak stand for something? Or the PEA, is that an initial for are you allowed?
You can tell that.
Can you tell me?
Okay. Yeah, it started I mean, I think we originally thought it stood for like where we came from.
Original cities.
So Portland,
Maine.
Elmira, New York, Albion, New York, and Kingston, Ontario. So
we're the 4 original guys.
Yeah, and so that's
that
what
made it the very first year,
right?
Roughly. So
now, what does it stand for?
Well, no, it still stands for that. We played the East West. We play for Whacker. It's called the Whacker Cup, and that's also a version of all of our hometowns.
Right.
So we like to put symbolism in all the stuff we do. We do all, like, even in our logo, the Meadows is a terrible name for a golf course. We didn't want to change it because, it was kind of ingrained with the local communities. But we hate the Meadows because it could be a old folks home, a cemetery. It could be, a alcohol treatment place. But we decided to keep it anyway. But inside our new logo, we actually have symbolism of we don't usually tell people this, but we'll say it just between us girls.
Yeah.
The 6 blades of grass actually stand for the 6 of us that bought it.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. I think anybody, so you've talked about having people in the media and stuff like that, and the different ways that our brains work. I think that I have a son that's an artist, and he'll paint something, and I'll be like, "Why'd you put the red box in the forest?" And he goes, "Well, if there was a red box in the forest, would you stop to see what was in the red box?" Yeah, okay. But like, it's trying to figure out why the Beatles wrote "I Am the Walrus," right? I mean, I don't know, what they were thinking. So it's cool that there's a reason behind your logo. And and now if the Up With People world listens, they will know.
So that was 7 years ago. We just started our 7th season. We have a pub that's year round. We do all kinds of cool stuff, from comedy shows, murder mystery nights, cribbage nights, comedy. We do all kinds of fun stuff.
Okay, that's funny. Murder mystery and then cribbage.
Yes.
We'll do anything to draw people to the area, because our goal is that it's a fun food and friends. That's what we train everyone to talk about. Our slogan at the bottom of our pub says "Come, sit, stay," because it's a dog. And so,
that's great.
But fun, food, and friends is what we always talk about. So when golf is done for us, we have 2 golf simulators. But other than that, why in the heck would people want to come? Well, we make it a lot of fun. So that's what we do. And that was 7. Now we're on our 7th season, and we're just about to start our 2nd season on the 2nd golf course we bought that also includes a 91 spot campground. So
that's right.
Wow. Is that close by?
It's an hour away from here, just north, in a town called Palmyra. So it's south of Bangor by about 30 minutes.
Okay.
And the crazy part of that is we didn't know anything about golf courses or restaurants when we bought this joint. Mm-hmm. We survived. But at least we golfed.
Have people made money yet?
Well,
or
again,
are they just
another
still
situation where we we should have said hell no, probably yes, but
We're having a lot of
we're
fun.
having a good time. We're having
And we
a
tell
really
our wives that it's not really a hobby. Someday we will make money.
yes, the money
There
will
you
come.
go.
That's what we say. Yeah, right. Yeah,
If you build it, they will come, right? You know?
exactly.
Right. But the good news is when we bought this, we at least had played golf and at least had eaten food and drink.
Right.
We don't camp.
We've never stayed in an RV park ever.
We
so-
had no clue.
Okay, you guys, you know what you need to do. See here, I'm full of advice for other people. So
Yeah.
I'm lousy at taking my own advice, but I'm great. So do you know about the Alumni Hub site that was created by other alumni? Are you aware of it? Okay.
No.
So the Alumni Hub, there's several alumni, 84, closer to 90s or whatever, that are working on it. And there's also a house exchange one website. So there's some really cool things. But with you having a campsite, you could propose a whole golf thing for Up With People alumni to come and camp.
Oh,
and
that's a great
stay
idea.
at your, because I don't camp. To me, it's more work than a house. So why would I do that? But you know, there are people who love it.
Yeah.
and stuff. And whether or not you have places that already exist, or you know, whether like permanent places, or whether it's bring your camper, it could be a really great activity.
Well, it'd be fun to meet other people from other eras and stuff. That'd be
Yeah.
great. We have two Airbnbs on site too, in addition to the campground. So
Nice.
it'll-
See?
that'd be cool.
That's-
I'll have to look. We'll look that up for sure. Thanks, Donna.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah, that's what John Hall has. Well, it's Camp Horizons or whatever. His is in Virginia. It started with a small thing, and they've added the Airbnb. Our cast had our reunion there last year, and
heard, yeah, cool.
last fall. And you know, so anyway, I think that there's so many of us that are older, and you guys are clearly younger than me, but that are getting to the point where we can travel more. Either the kids are grown, or you know, whatever. And it may not be the 30-year-olds that come, but certainly it could be kind of a cool thing.
Yeah, that would be.
To
Yeah,
do.
we've toyed with having a reunion for our cast at our place when we have enough lodging, so that'll probably happen at some point.
You guys get a good turnouts for your reunions?
Typically, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Good. I'm a little sad. My son's 10 years this year, and they're all getting together in Denver beforehand, because that's where they host, you know, that's where they were hosted and learned the show. And yeah, and it's easier, it's cheaper. I'm like begging him to come to Tucson. Or to Phoenix. He goes, I don't want to be the only one from my cast in Phoenix. I'm like,
Right.
you know,
right.
I get that. So, all right. So Up With People questions. Favorite song from your show or another show? Randall, you go first.
Favorite song.
Wow, that's a good question. I should have thought about this first.
Yeah.
So, sorry, we have. Do you have one?
I like Coming Home. That was our final.
Yep. Coming Home's a
song from our
great
show. I
song.
always liked that one.
It's a powerful
Dan
song.
one of our guys used to sing it a lot. I loved his rendition of it too.
I like
Nice.
Free at Last from a previous show. Free at Last it's a beautiful song. I like the message, and I have a low voice, so I used to sing it in the shower all the time.
We used to sing Godskin to our kids when they were growing up too. So that's kind of
Nice.
a neat one.
Nice. That's one that's been kind of changed through the years, depending on what country you were in or whatever the timing. And in the new show, the new production that's going to be happening, they're taking like 4 or 5 songs, maybe 6 from the past, and they want to keep those, but they want to make them 2023 versions, whatever that means. I was talking with Paul Caldwell about this the other day, and the changes through the years, even to the ending, like of Roads or something, how they might have changed the end. So, all right. So favorite place that you traveled when you were on the road, Darrick?
I did a great tour in Australia, which was phenomenal. So that was a lot of fun. That
Neat.
wasn't my student year. Sorry, that was a staff year, but it was.
That's all right. That's all right. And Randall, what about you?
I'd say 2 things. One is I spent my 21st birthday in Norway, and it was very special because I'm Norwegian and Swedish heritage. So that was pretty smoking cool. The other thing I'd have to say is in Bermuda, and I'm only going to say that because it'll frustrate a couple of the guys that we own the place with, because we had spinoffs, and there may or may not be at least one of our in our group that gets pissed every time we get together because he didn't get any good
to go to
spinoff.
Bermuda.
He didn't get to go to Bermuda. He didn't get to go to the
Brazil.
To Brazil. None of those places. He went to like anyway. So I'm just saying that just upset one of my
Just
buddies.
to upset somebody. So I was bicentennial. We only had about 10 non-Americans, you guys. We used to have to make up countries for people. And you know, if like our international team were out doing PR somewhere.
Yeah.
And one of our guys, black man who was from Denver, his dad was like a United Airlines guy. We would just make up all different countries for him, you know, anytime if somebody needed to raise their hand. And our tour was a whole bunch of the United States and 3 cities in Mexico. So
Oh,
I remember for us going, well, that was fun. Now, in hindsight, I spent 6 weeks in Mexico City, and you know, after a while, the places don't matter, right? You know, it's the memories and the people. But we all went through that, and I only traveled the 1 year, so all my international has been post up with people. You know?
Right,
So,
right.
Okay, what about a food that you ate that you either hated and will never eat again, or a food that you ate for the first time that you absolutely love and have added to your life?
I don't know that.
I had jambalaya for the very first time when we were in Louisiana, and that was fantastic. And probably the what was that stuff called in Norway? Aquavit.
Oh yeah.
Where they serve that alcohol to you everywhere you went.
Yeah.
Everywhere you went. Yeah.
Yeah. I had some painful experiences with that. So, yeah.
I'll bet you everybody in Scandinavia has painful experiences
Right.
with that. What about you, Randall?
I don't know if there was a food. I just remember that my first Thanksgiving away from my family was in Michigan with an immigrant family, and that I don't remember the foods, but they were all very different. It was the first time that Thanksgiving was very different for me, and it was kind of cool. Yeah, I liked it a lot.
So our tour was ending the semester in Wyoming, and my Thanksgiving was in Jackson Hole, and beautiful. My hosts had really good friends who were, I'm going to say Native American impersonators, but I'm not sure. I think they were part Native American, and they came to the dinner that day. And for me, that was a monumental learning experience about history and life, right, and everything there. That was something. I've talked to people who were in China who talk about eating 1,000-year-old eggs, and they were, you know, never doing that again, and, you know, stuff like that. And Randall, I'm Swedish also, and I have cousins in Göteborg, and there was a group from '84. We had a big reunion in Marstrand, and there were 94 alumni and family members there. And I had never eaten herring because dried fish in a sauce, I was like, you know, and they had the drink. And my cousin Hans goes, you Americans make it so hard. You have a special bird for Thanksgiving and a special bird for Christmas and a special wine for this. He goes, we just drink the same thing and eat the same thing all the time. You don't have to think about it. But I ate herring for the first time in 2015, and I kind of liked it. So
that's great.
That's great.
Like at age whatever I was, 58 or something, I tried something. All right. So when do you guys all get together? Because I talked about doing a real quick, you know, sort of like maybe 10-minute part due with everybody. When are y'all together?
This last year, Michael Schooling won. He's a doctor for the State Department. So he moves every 3 years, and he happens to be in Brussels. He won last year. He's going to be in Brussels. So we plan to be in July in Brussels for our tournament. And it'd be great to have a quick check-in with you at that time with all 6 of us together. We will show you the jacket and the crazy trophies. So
that would be.
I think that'd be a lot of fun. Just to show you some of the.
Do you know what?
I'm sure he'll let us into the embassy. We can do it in the embassy. Probably.
Yeah, we'll see it. Yeah.
What's your do you know the timing in July?
It's the 3rd week.
Yeah, like the 24th, 25th of July.
So somewhere. Reunion in Tucson or reunion in Phoenix time.
It's the same exact time as the reunion. That's why I can't go to the reunion.
Okay, so I'm going to be in Denver after the reunion, picking up my son, and we're driving to Ohio for a homecoming. I'm from a town of 500 people, you guys. So I get the small town thing. That's why I was laughing and asking about where you're at, you know. So, but I could easily, because there'll be like a 9-hour difference, 8 or 9 hour difference. So I could do an early morning. And that would be awesome. And I'll keep the little chat we have on Messenger. So
Yeah,
that,
it would be fun,
so-
and the guys would love to say hi to you and definitely show off.
Yeah.
Anything they say is not true. Only listen to Darrick and me.
Exactly. We're the only.
Oh, okay. This feels like Paul Harvey, the rest of the story. Are you,
Right.
are you guys old enough to know that?
Yeah,
Yes,
for sure.
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, again, when I did the Arizona band thing, I gave them each an opportunity to tell me something about the other one, and they were all like, oh, what do I get to say? So awesome. Thank you so much for your time. I'm going to ask you one more thing before the clock runs out. If you were to talk to, I don't know how old, if you have children, how old they are. And I know that the new Up With People is an evolution. I don't even know if you know what's happening. But if you were to talk to an 18 to 25-year-old right now about your experience and what Up With People might do in their life, what would you say to them?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, for me, it was just perspective, like just opening my eyes to what was around me, the people. I mean, it's the cliche, but it really was the perspective on everybody and the people that I travel with that are lifelong friends. My spouse is from Up With People, I mean, so as far as the changes it had on my life, it's astronomical.
Nice. So it was easier for you to get the spouse buy-in because
It was definitely easier. Yes.
that's awesome. Randall, what about you?
I would say it was absolutely the most impactful, best year of my life. As a one segment, to Darrick's point, I have lifelong friends that are some I talk to all the time, like my peak friends, or otherwise. Being from a town in Wyoming of 650, not as small as yours, it gave me perspective. We didn't have diversity. We didn't have discussions like we had. And I think a group like Up With People, whether it was 40 years ago, 20 years ago, or today, is critical to open up change our paradigm of what we have grown up with and around, and to understand different things, even if you don't agree with other areas, the other thoughts. I think it's now more than ever, and it's important that we can have some public discourse or private discourse that is healthy and informed, and we need more of it. Not to mention the effects of having the friends and the lifelong experiences, but it's really important we're able to relate to and understand and listen. It's changed my life. It changed my life. Up With People did.
It's so interesting that it seems like every generation of Up With People said we need it now more than ever, but it happens every generation.
It gives me chills to say that. That's what Paul Caldwell said the other day. How can it be that we felt that in the 60s and now, so thankfully there's at least about 23,000 of us around the world who get it.
The impact is ongoing for sure.
Yeah.
And we want to thank you, Donna, for doing these. I think it's wonderful that you're doing this to kind of bridge some of the gaps and understandings and just fun stories and experiences of people from all the different times. So I just publicly want to say thank you for some cool stuff.
Thank you. It's super fun for me. It's the faces are the places, and I love the stories. Yeah. All right, I'm going to stop the recording, guys. Thank you so much for joining, and we'll chat for one more minute then. Okay?
Thank you.
All right. Thanks.